Welcome back. Thank you for staying with the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Castries Mayor Peterson Francis says in the thrust to develop Castries and the nation by extension, all hands must be on deck. He advocates for inclusiveness in society and took an important first step toward that by inviting the local LGBT advocacy group United and Strong to an introductory meeting.
Just a matter of general discussion. We are trying to work with everybody, and that is really an introduction as to what we're looking forward to. So there's no set agenda.
Board Secretary of United and Strong, Jessica St. Rose, indicated that it was a promising first step given the history of years of exclusion by the state and its agencies.
Today we're here by the call of the government of St. Lucia and the mayor to come discuss the way forward for everyone, being inclusive, and we're happy that we're here today to discuss inclusiveness in St. Lucia, in the country, and of course representation of the minority group that we represent, United and Strong, the LGBT community. So we look forward to the movement and the growth of inclusiveness in St. Lucia, especially coming from the mayor. We are honored to be here today.
The Executive Director of the Eastern Caribbean Alliance for Diversity and Equality, Kenita Placid, also attended the introductory meeting. Responding to questions about the current openness of the gay and lesbian community and how that makes some members of society uncomfortable, Placid says human rights are for all.
By virtue of being born, there are certain rights one is born with. By virtue of being born to the island of St. Lucia, you're a citizen. And I don't believe there's anything about putting someone's life in someone's face. That is left to rather an opinion rather than the openness of the reality. We have persons here in St. Lucia who have been killed as far back as 2005 to present because of the perceived sexual orientation. How is that putting it in somebody's face when justice is not served? So our reality is we continue to have conversations, we continue to open doors, but as you know, people continue to live their lives. And it's not about who accepts or not accept one's life. It's about how the country and the Constitution allow for the full, I would say, where one can live their life as a full citizen of that country, being able to access every part of the Constitution as any other person. So if something is given to one, it should be given to the other, as long as we all understand with every bit of rights also comes with high personal responsibilities.
The tete-a-tete was hosted at the office of the mayor on Monday. According to the Traffic Department of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, bad driving practices have become rampant. The increases in motor vehicular accidents have warranted swift action from the Traffic Department. It is warning drivers about bad and unlawful habits that have been linked to an increase in accidents. Solange Alfred reports.
The Traffic Department has sought to caution the motoring public about a disturbing trend that has been recognized coming into the new year. The increase in motor vehicular accidents has raised a high level of concern for the department. Acting Corporal Fraser 779 of the Traffic Department says drivers are simply too hasty when traversing the highways and byways, which is significantly lending itself to the increase in vehicular accidents.
A lot of drivers are in a haste to get from one point to the other. They may not be using the signals properly, or they tend to drive over the speed limit. We've noticed that a lot, especially on the highways within the Bexar and Grosley Highway area. A lot of drivers tend to exceed the limit. We implore drivers, to adhere to the rules of the road, to slow down, use your indicators, and these things would greatly assist the motoring public and cause less accidents on the road.
Acting Corporal Fraser 779 says, though modern vehicles have mechanisms in place to better save a life during accidents, driver and passengers need to adhere to safety measures like buckling up.
The vehicle will crumple, and the force in which the vehicle was struck by would not be transferred to you as the individual. And then your seat belts, not just seat belts, your seat belt along with your airbag would deploy to assist you in minimizing the amount of damage you would receive during that collision. So we also employing drivers to ensure that they wear their seat belts every time they sit behind the steering wheel of a vehicle. And also we implore all passengers to do likewise.
Other factors outlined by the traffic department that may lead to dangerous accidents include eating or drinking while driving, cell phone usage, adjusting audio or climate controls, and general distraction or being lost in thought. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
Meanwhile, our cameras found that the traffic department had moved its operations to an outdoor car park area and what was once a supplies unit container. The reason behind the relocation is the suspected presence of mold in the traffic department building.
I'm currently standing in the motor pool area of the traffic department, where you can see behind me a makeshift office due to the fact that the traffic department is infested with mold. The other temporary location that houses the men and women of the traffic department was what used to be the supply office for the motor pool. Right behind me is the door, the usual entrance to the traffic department, which is currently closed. This is also the home to the Royal St. Lucia Police Band. However, it's been about 1 year since they've been relocated to the old Monroe School because of the infestation of mold. We are unsure of how long this situation will last. However, the men and women of the traffic department are optimistic that resolve will come to them in a matter of weeks or hopefully as soon as possible. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Solange Alfred.
Barbados will not be at the table when Caribbean leaders meet with U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo in Jamaica. The decision has been taken by Prime Minister Mia Mottley, who announced on Saturday night she would not be sending Foreign Minister Senator Jerome Walcott to the meeting. Pompeo is scheduled to be in Jamaica for the two-day meeting with Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness and other Caribbean leaders. And according to a release from the U.S. State Department, he will conduct a multilateral roundtable discussion with the Caribbean leaders and also deliver remarks on U.S.-Caribbean relations. Prime Minister Mia Mottley said at a gala to celebrate the centenary of the birth of the Right Excellent Errol Barrow on Saturday night that as chairman of CARICOM, it is impossible for her to agree to send her foreign minister to a meeting to which members of CARICOM are not invited. She also suggested it was an attempt at divide and rule among Caribbean countries if some are invited and not all. At the fundraising dinner, she also reminded the audience of the late national hero's famous statement, "We will be friends of all and satellites of none." Leader of the opposition, Philip J. Pierre, addressed the nation on Sunday night. He condemned the government for feeding the people empty promises during their 3.5-year tenure. Leader of the opposition, Philip J. Pierre, in his address to the nation on Sunday night, took the government to task for what he says has been its inability to deliver on its promises upon assuming offices, and still 3.5 years after.
In the world of fantasy, we are free to promise anything. And if every promise would become a feel-good factor, then the more the merrier. And so, we have been peppered with promises of all sorts. New hotels, major road rehabilitation, hospitals, and several more, all which to take place within the space of the next year. Let us not forget that since 2016, we were promised the construction of 5 to 7 hotels, the elimination of VAT and ching-ching in our pockets. Unfortunately for our Prime Minister, St. Lucia is a real place. And so the promises remain just that, promises. Now, into the 4th year of this UWP administration, and with nothing to show, I feel further vindicated in tabling in Parliament my historic no confidence motion in the Prime Minister in January last year.
He went on to detail the plans of the St. Lucia Labour Party if it assumes office. On the matter of healthcare, he stated that an SLP government will give the highest priority to the completion of the St. Jude Hospital as a full-service state-of-the-art hospital as it was intended to be. The leader of the opposition also vowed to review the existing construction works, financial arrangements, and the reasons for the demolition of 2 existing buildings that would have cost taxpayers millions of dollars.
We can all agree that it is an affront to the collective consciousness of our people that for 3.5 years, work has been stopped on the St. Jude Hospital and the buildings left to deteriorate. Meanwhile, our sick relatives and friends continue to perish, and medical personnel languish in very trying conditions in a makeshift hospital located in a sports stadium. And a few hundred yards away, the government has been available to find all the financial resources for the completion of a horse racing track. A case of horses before people. This uncaring demonstration by the government for the health of St. Lucians, particularly in the South, must never be allowed to be forgotten.
As it relates to the Owen King EU Hospital, he says an SLP government will immediately commission its opening as a public hospital and review any privatization plans. He says the aim of the SLP is to provide affordable and accessible health care for all.
I want to remind St. Lucians that had the St. Lucia Labour Party remained in government, the OKEU Hospital would have been in full operation today. For those concerned about the issue of healthcare affordability, I believe that there is enough competent local talent to continue the work of ensuring the provision of an affordable health financing system for the people of St. Lucia.
That was Leader of the Opposition, Philip J. Pierre, during his address to the nation on Sunday. This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. There's more coming up after the break.